بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين، والصلاة والسلام على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. أما بعد، فالسلام عليكم ورحمة الله تعالى وبركاته. أهلا ومرحبا بكم طلبة وطالبات الصف العاشر في هذا الدرس. We will start by stating the objectives of today's lesson. So by the end of this lesson, students will be able to form different types of questions, use will and going to properly, and put modal verbs in sentences. So we are going to focus on three things: types of questions, will and going to, and the modal verbs. Now let's start by talking about the how to form questions in English. There are two types or two main types of questions. What are these two main types of questions in English? They are yes/no questions and WH questions. So let's write them here. We have questions, and we have these two types of questions: yes, no questions, and WH questions. Okay? So again, we have two main types of questions in English: yes/no questions and WH questions. Now, what is the difference between them? Yes/no questions can be answered with either yes or no. Just the answer has to be yes or no. For example, are you from Oman? The answer has to be yes, I am, or no, I am not. Now, what about WH questions? These questions begin with a WH question word, like what, when, where, who, why. And the answer here is not yes or no. It cannot be yes or no. We have to give information. For example, if I ask you this question, where do you live? You will say, I live in Oman. You don't say yes or no here. Again, yes/no questions. With yes/no questions, the answer has to be yes or no. With WH questions, the answer has to give information according to the question itself. Now, let's have some examples before talking about how to form questions in English. With yes/no questions, we have these examples. Are you going to school? Are you going to school? Can I help you? Have you got a pen? Do you like pizza? Now prepare your questions, because we are going to form some questions here. Now, what about WH questions? What are you doing? For example, I am studying English. When are we going home? We are going home at 7 o'clock. Who is he? He is my best friend. Why didn't you do your homework? I didn't do my homework because I was busy. Now, with WH questions, we didn't answer by saying yes or no. No, we gave what? We gave some information. Now, how can we form questions with yes/no questions and with WH questions? These questions, I mean, the yes/no questions, are usually formed like this. Like what? Auxiliary verb, then the subject, after that the main verb. Again, we start with the auxiliary verb, then the subject, after that the verb. What are the auxiliary verbs? Okay, like what we have? We have do, does, did. We have verbs to be: am, is, are, was, were, can, could. We have may, might, will, shall, would, all of these words are called auxiliary verbs. If we put them at the beginning of the question, the answer has to be yes or no. For example, are you busy right now? Yes, I am. Or no, I am not. Is your brother okay? Yes, he is. Or no, he isn't. Was your sister reading her book when you arrived home yesterday? No, she wasn't. Or yes, she was. These are the auxiliary verbs with yes, no questions. Now, what about the WH words? WH questions, sorry. With WH questions, we have to put the WH word first, then the auxiliary verb, like this one here. After that, the subject, and then the main verb. Look at the questions here. What? This is the WH word. Then the auxiliary verb are. After that, the subject. Then we have the verb. Now, what are the WH words in English? We have these words. So please pay attention to me. They are very important. We have who, where, when, what, why. We have how many, how much, how long, how far, how old. Okay. So again, we have who, where, when, what, why, how many, how much, how long, how far, how old, and how often. Okay. Now, how can we use them properly? We can use them according to the answer that we want to get. Who is used to ask about people. Like, who is your best friend? My best friend is Khadija, or my best friend is Abdullah. Where is used to ask about places. Like, where are you from? We are from Oman. When is used to ask about time. Like, when do you get up? I get up at 4 o'clock. What to ask about objects or things. Like, what is this? It's a pen. What is that? It's a book. Why is used to ask about or to ask for reasons. Like, why are you late? Because of the traffic jam. How is used to ask about conditions. Like, how are you? I am very well. How many is used to ask about numbers. And we use it with countable nouns. Like, how many brothers and sisters do you have? I have 5 brothers and sisters. Or we may call them siblings. Our brothers and sisters together are called siblings. How much is used to ask about prices and to ask about the uncountable nouns. Okay, like what? How much is your cap? It's 5 reals. How much is your t-shirt? It's 10 reals, for example. And what about the uncountable nouns? Like, how much water is left in the bottle? Let's say 250 milli. How long is used to ask about the duration, the amount of time. Like, how long does it take from Muscat to Nizwa? Let's say 1 hour and a half. How far is used to ask about distances. Like, how far is it from Muscat to Nizwa? Let's say 150 kilometers. How old is used to ask about age? Like, how old is your brother? He is 15 years old. How often? Okay, we use how often when we want to say, to ask about the times that something happens, okay, in which something happens. Like, how often do you pray? We pray 5 times a day. How often do you brush your teeth? I brush my teeth 2 times a day. How often do you play football? I play football every day. Okay, so if you want to ask about the way, or the sorry, how often something happens, you have to say how often, how often. Okay, now let's have these examples here, and we have to choose the correct answer. Dash Ahmed live in Barka. Okay, we have do, does, is, and was. Now look at the verb live. It doesn't end in ing, so we cannot use was. We cannot use is, because they are verb to be. Okay, or verbs to be. We have do and does. Look at the subject, Ahmed. So this one is he. We have to use what? Does. Does Ahmed live in Barka? Yes, he does, or no, he doesn't. Number 2, you good at physics? Yes, I am. Yes, we have I am here. But now here we have you, because if somebody asks us, he has to say you, and we have to say I. I mean, I have to say I if he is talking to me. So if he asks like this, you good at physics, he has to say, are you good at physics? Yes, I am. Number 3, is she a nurse? No. If the answer is no, we have to use the negative form of the verb. So, no, she isn't. Number 4, you finished your work. Finished. It's verb number 3, or the past participle of the verb finish. So we have to use have. Have you finished your work? Number 5, they sleeping right now. Okay, it has to be small, and this one has to be small. Also, this one has to be small. Okay, number 5, they sleeping right now. Are they sleeping right now? Are they sleeping right now? Yes, they are, or no, they aren't. Okay, so again, to form a yes no question, we have to start with the auxiliary verb, then the subject, after that the verb. Okay, now what about the WH questions? Of course, we have to start with the WH words, or WH words, then the auxiliary verb, after that the subject, and the last thing is the verb. Okay, now let's write some examples here. Like what, huh? Who is your friend? Okay, Where do you live? How old are you? Okay. What is your favorite subject? Okay, so these are some examples that show how to form a WH question: who, where, how, what, when, etc. Okay, now let's move to will and going to. We use will and going to talk about the future. To talk about what? The future. So let's talk about the future using will and going to. If we want to use will and going to, we have to make sure that we understand them very well. Now, what is the difference between them? Will is used when there is no specific plan, while going to is used when there is a plan, when there is an indication that something is going to happen. But if we are deciding at the moment of speaking, we have to use will. Again, will is used to talk about the future. We use it if we are not sure whether the thing will happen or not, or if we are deciding at the moment of speaking. Going to is used when we are sure that something is going to happen. It's also used when there is a plan or there is an indication that something is going to happen. How can I form a sentence using will and going to? Now look at my explanation here. Will is formed like this. First of all, we have to start with the subject. After that, will, then the main verb. What about going to? Going to is formed like this. The subject, then, and what before going to? We have to put verb to be, a verb to be, okay? Okay, what are these verbs to be? We have am, is, and are. After that, we have to put going to, then the main verb. Okay, of course, we use I with am. I am. He is. She is. It is. We are. You are. They are. Again, to form a sentence using will, we have to start with the subject. Then will, after that, the main verb. What about going to? Again, we have to start with the subject. After that, verb to be, am or is or are. Then going to, and after going to, we have to put the main verb. We have to put the main verb. Okay, now let's state some examples here before talking about different things. Okay, the first example is about will. I will meet you. I is the subject, Then we have will. After that, we have meet as the main verb in the sentence. What about going to? I am going to meet you tomorrow, for example. I is the subject. Then we have verb to be, am. After that, going to, then the main verb. Okay, now what about the negative forms of going to and will? To make a negative sentence, we have to add the word not. How? First of all, with will, we have to say, I will not meet you. Or it's contracted as like this. Won't. I will not, or I won't meet you tomorrow, for example. Okay, what about going to? We have to start again with the subject, like I, then am, the main verb. After that, the word not. I am not going to meet you tomorrow. So we have the word not. Okay. Now let's write some examples to make everything clear. Will and going to. Will and going to. Okay. They will call you. She will be happy. He will give you a gift. What about going to? We are going to fly to Mecca. She is going to write a short story. I am going to join you, for example, tonight. Okay, I am going to join you. She is going to write a short story. We are going to fly to Mecca. He will give you a gift. She will be happy. They will call you. All of these sentences are in the future, but will is used to talk about what? To talk about the things that we are deciding right now at the moment of speaking. There is no plan. While going to is used to talk about the or to express the planned actions, the planned actions. Now, what about the modal verbs? The last part in our lesson. We also use modal verbs of possibility to make future predictions. So we have will and going to. Also, we have modal verbs of possibility. May, might, and could. Look at the first example. Cars may soon become autonomous. As a result, there will be no need for drivers. Might, in 10 years' time, so it's in the future, we might be using flying cars. Could, by using Hyperloop, sorry, A passenger could travel between two cities in a few minutes. So we have may or may not, might or might not, and we have could or could not. Let's write some examples using may, might, and could to talk about the future. Okay. Number one, may. They may have a party tonight. They may have a party tonight. He might be able to fix your car. She could go home at 10:30 before you arrive, for example. Okay, so now again, they may have a party tonight. He might be able to fix your car. She could go home at 10:30 before you arrive. To form a sentence using these models or modal verbs, we have to start with the subject, then the modal verb, after that verb number one or the main verb. Now I think everything is clear. وصلنا إلى ختام درسنا لهذا اليوم. أسأل الله لي ولكم التوفيق، والسلام عليكم ورحمة الله تعالى وبركاته، ومع السلامة.